Today we're going to talk about functions and function notation. A relation is any set of ordered pairs, x, y. The collection of x values in the ordered pairs together make up the domain, and the collection of y values in the ordered pairs make up the range. A special type of relation is called a function, and we study it quite a bit in mathematics and especially in algebra. And a function is a relation that assigns each element in its domain to exactly one element in the range. So I look at it this way. Each person can only have one birthday. So if a person has a fake ID, which you should totally not have, then you have an actual birthday and a fake birthday. So that person is pointing to two birthdays, and that would make them a violator and not a function. So just remember, each x can only have one y, each person can only have one birthday. So this is the notation, y equals f of x. Anytime something is equal, they're interchangeable. So if you see y, you can always change it with f of x. F is the name of the function, because you can have h of x or g of x or p of x. X is the domain value, and f of x, or because remember f of x and y are interchangeable, is the range value y corresponding to the value at x. We read f of x as f of x, or the value of f at x. So there are many different ways that we can represent functions, equations, tables, collection of ordered pairs, graphs, mappings, and verbal descriptions. A relation is a set of ordered pairs. The set of its first components of each ordered pair is the domain. The second is the range, and that's because our points are x, y. So if I have this relation here, and I want to know the domain is all just the x values here. I'm going to write that as the set that includes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the range will be your y values. And it's the set that includes 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. Note that each value in the domain is also known as the input value, or the independent variable, and is often labeled with a lowercase x. Each value in the range is known as the output value, and it depends on what x you put in, so we call it the dependent variable, and it's often labeled as the lowercase letter y. So if we were to draw functions as pictures, here are different scenarios we can have. This relation is a function, so each person, think of these, each person has its own birthday, just one birthday. Now these guys might be twins, right, and they share a birthday, and that's okay. This is a function. Each person has their own birthday, so that's cool. This is not a function. This person has their own birthday. This person has a birthday and a fake ID, so that is a violator, so that is not a function. Alright, so how, given a relationship between two quantities, determine whether the relationship is a function? You identify the input, identify the output, and make sure that each input only points to one output. And we already talked about that, so we don't need to talk about that again. So let's look at these tables. Let's see, do these represent a function or not? Okay, so I have, so this only goes to here, this only goes to here, and this only goes to here. So this This is a function. Each person has its own birthday. Here, each person has their own birthday. Now, -3 and 4 might be twins. They might have been born on the same day, but they are still only have one birthday, so this is a function. Here, this has points to here, but oh look, 5 points to 2 different numbers. So the 5 has its real birthday and fake ID, so no, not a function. Alright, so we can evaluate functions, and it's kind of like we've been doing already. We've been substituting values in for a variable already. So it's just really, we're going to write it a little bit differently, but they're going to do it the same way. So if I have f of x is x squared plus 3x minus 4, evaluate it at x equal to 2. So you would write f of 2 is equal to, and I'm going to put, every time I see my variable, I'm going to put a 2 in. And then it's 4 plus 6 minus 4. So f of 2 equals 6. Remember, this is my x and that's my y, so that corresponds to the point 2, 6. Just a little extra knowledge there. I won't, because that'll come in handy later. So I want to find f of a. So now this says every time you see an x, replace it with a. So it's going to be a squared plus 3 times a minus 4, or a squared plus 3a minus 4. And you're like, that's weird. Why would I put a number in and then not put a number in next? But eventually, down the road, you're going to see this again and it'll make a little bit more sense. I hope so. Okay, so now this says every time you go to f, the function named f, and every time you see its variable, replace it with the quantity a plus h. So I'm going to leave parentheses where x was. I'm going to put a plus h in, and then I'm going to multiply it out. So that's a squared plus 2ah plus h squared plus 3a plus 3h minus 4. And doesn't look like there's anything that I can connect or combine. So I leave my answer there. Okay. So find a given input on represented by a table. So we're going to find the given input in a row or column of the input value, identify the corresponding output value paired with that input value, find the given output values in a row or column of output values, noting every time the output value appears, and identify the input values corresponding to the given output. So if this is my function g of n, I want to find g of 3. So this is 3, and this tells me that g of 3 equals 7. And then it says g of n equals 6. Let's find what n is. So I go to the table and look for 6, and I see that it corresponds with 4. So n equals 4. But also, I have g of n equals 6 here. So n also equals 2. Make sure sure I don't have any more 6s. Yep. All right, we're good to go. So now I have a graph, and they want me to evaluate f of 2. So I know that this is my x value. So I'm going to go over to x, and I'm going to go up till I hit the graph, and I hit the graph at y equal to 1. So I know that f of 2 equals 1, and just as a sidebar, we see that that's the point 2, 1. And then solve f of x equals to 4. So f of x equals y. So I know this is my y value. So I'm going to go up to y equals 4 on my graph here. And I see that it hits here, and it hits here. So I know that here x equals negative 1, and here on this one x equals 3. And these correspond to the points negative 1, 4 and 3, 4. And this is just a picture of how we located f of 2. Okay, and it says, let's try it. Using figure 4, solve f of x equal to 1, and this is figure 4. So f of x equals 1. I go up to y equals 1, and I see that x equals 0. So this is the point 0, 1. And we already have this point, the point 2, 1. So here x is equal to 0, or x is equal to 2. Okay, so we have a certain type of function that will be important later on, trust me. Whether a function is one-to-one. It's really important when we start talking about inverses of functions. A one-to-one function is a function that which each output value corresponds to exactly one input value. So no twins, basically. We have something called the vertical line test also, or not also, I haven't told you about the other tests. A vertical line test can be used to determine whether the graph represents a function. If we can draw any vertical line that intersects a graph more than once, then the graph does not define a function, because a function has only one output value for each input value. So only one person can have one birthday. So here, this is a function, because anywhere I draw a vertical line, it'll only hit the graph once. This is not a function, because, see, this is 1, 2, 3. So the point, well, lots of points, but here where they drew the line at 3, 3 has its birthday and fake ID here. So it's a violator, so it can't be a function. This is also not a function because it hits in 2 points. So given a graph, use the vertical line test to determine if the graph represents a function. You're going to inspect the graph to see if any vertical line drawn would intersect the curve more than once. If there is any such line, determine that the graph does not represent a function. So let's look at these guys here. So this here, this is a cubic function. So this is a function. Here, obviously, a line is a function. I can go anywhere and only hit one point. This is a circle. I hit more than once, so a circle is not a function. So we have a horizontal line test, and once we've determined that yes, it is a function, an easy way to determine if it's a one-to-one function is to use the horizontal line test. You draw horizontal lines through the graph. If the horizontal line intersects the graph more than once, the graph does not represent a one-to-one function. So consider the function shown in figure 9 is the function one-to-one. So we've looked here. We don't have to look at this. But this, if I draw a horizontal line through this guy, I'm only going to hit 1 point. So this is also one-to-one. This one, I draw it here, and I hit 3 places, so this is not one-to-one. Oh, it just asked me for 9A, so you got a bonus one. So here's that. I knew I was going to scribble on these, so here's the nice printed out and shows you that it's not a one-to-one function. So we're going to have some toolkit functions, and they're important. They're important, and like I said in a previous lecture, when we had a good old-fashioned book, we opened up the inside of the cover, and these would be there. All this information would be there, so it would be quickly at our fingertips, because we do a lot of things with them. So these are good to keep around when you're doing your homework and your tests. This is a constant function where f of x equals just a number. Okay, the graph is going to look like that. This is the identity function, y equals x, or f of x equals x. Okay, so it's going to be a line with a positive slope. Absolute value function, f of x equals the absolute value of x. So it's always going to be a V shape. The quadratic will always be a parabola or a U shape. A cubic function, a pure cubic function, because if we subtract and add and stuff, it'll distort it a bit, like the one we saw in the last example. Is going to look like this, like someone dancing disco with the arm up and arm down. And then a reciprocal function is 1 over x. So it's going to be in 2 different quadrants because you have that place where you cannot divide by 0. Reciprocal squared, you're going to have still the thing where you can't divide by 0, but it's going to be in different quadrants. Square root of x, and you can't take the square root of a negative number on a real graph, so it's going to be from 0 on. And then the cubed root, you can take the cube root of a negative number, so it kind of looks like a cubic laying on its side. So these are good to keep around. If you need more information or just want to listen to someone other than me, here are the live links in the PDF to listen to the videos from your book.